Hi, I'm Big John here with BackStage360, sitting with the one, the only Mike Love, reggae sensation. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing incredible. Yeah.
Is that an intro that you'd like?
Yeah.
Well, you're charting up the you're shooting up the charts right now. You're getting well known, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I never really noticed whether it's really shooting up or anything. It's kind of like been a constant growth since day one, so it's always growing, and it never really seems to change. To me, it just kind of slowly gets bigger.
It's kind of like that's got to be your Hawaii feel. Now you're from
Yeah.
you were born on Oahu, on the main island right
Yeah.
there, right?
Mhm.
So what is it, the Hawaii thing that kind of made you gravitate toward reggae, or was it another?
Yeah, definitely living in Hawaii. It's growing up, we listened to a lot of reggae music, and Bob Marley is kind of a staple there, and it's really the reggae music has been the most popular kind of music there for a long time. And if you turn on the radio stations, it's one of these places that's kind of like a weird microcosm, because most places you go, you turn on the radio and the major radio stations there are playing, your national top 40 or whatever, the real pop hits and stuff. And really the most popular radio stations in Hawaii play mainly Hawaiian reggae music.
Huh.
So it's kind of like a microcosm where like the most popular bands are actually from there, So and I'm not necessarily a part of that mainstream reggae music in Hawaii. I play a little
Okay.
more of like the rootsy kind of underground, but they do play me on the radio sometimes.
Oh, that's cool. No, so what brought you over to San Diego then?
We're starting up our tour here, the West Coast leg of our tour. We just finished up on the East Coast and did a run from New York down to Florida and went home for a little bit, and then we're starting up here and doing a bunch of shows here and making our way up to Colorado.
Well, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the reggae, obviously, like you're gaining more popularity, but that's because, in my opinion, that's because of your technical skills and how hard you work. Like one of my favorite things is when I see jazz musicians scat. And it's one of the first things I got from you listening to your music, is you've got a kind of like a jazzy reggae feel, because you do a lot of scatting, a lot of imitating. What brought that into your music life?
Oh, I mean, I guess I just like I always tried to be, have a unique voice and do unique things, and I think that's really what makes somebody stand out. If you just try and sound like everybody else on the radio or whatever, you end up, I mean, they're only there because they had a unique voice, and if you just try and sound like them, then you don't end up standing out. But if you just have your own unique style, and I always kind of like, anytime I had time alone or I was driving my car, I would start singing and just making funky noises and doing weird things with my voice, and then that naturally just found its way into my music. And I've always been doing that since I was a kid, I think
Yeah.
I just never stopped kind of being like a weird kid.
Just
that
kind of
makes,
training your voice and stretching it out.
Yeah.
How big is your vocal range? Because you seem to get real up there. Is that natural or falsetto?
Yeah, well, like, I mean, I think I could get pretty high up there without using falsetto, but yeah, I do go pretty high with the falsetto, but I can't go very low, so my range is like, I guess it's pretty big, but I'd love to be able to have like the deep.
Well, you get to the low baritone, and you can definitely reach tenor one stuff. So what is that, about at least a 3-octave range, maybe 3.5?
Yeah, it's probably about
That's pretty expansive,
2.5,
my
3
friend.
octaves. Yeah.
That's like you're bordering on Mariah Carey levels. So that means within
I
a
don't know
couple of
about
years, you could be a multi-platinum selling artist, and I could see that for sure.
Oh, thanks, man.
You're welcome. So you're here tonight doing this cool little show here at this nice little private place. I got to know, because one of the songs that I love that I heard is Permanent Holiday. Are you going to do that tonight?
Yeah, we pretty much always do that one.
That song is so fun, because take me through the styling, the setup for that song, because you've had to spend years developing that, haven't you?
Yeah, well, it's like anything. You write a song and then you play it, and over the years it changes and it always grows. And I mean, I guess that's probably the reason why we can still play it night after night and not hate it. You hear a lot of these bands like Guns N' Roses, and they just hate Sweet Child of Mine and Radiohead, and
they have to play it because the band,
Creep, right? Yeah. But we really love playing that song because we always do change it, and we're constantly, we just rewrote a whole like big outro for it, and then every time we play it live, it's always naturally improvisationally changing. So yeah, it's a song that's grown quite a bit since it first came out. But it was one of those ones that, like, you write a lot of songs and you never really know. Sometimes I think, oh, this song is really going to connect with people, and then you play it live and everybody's just like, and you're like, wow, I guess that wasn't the one. And then that song was another song that I wrote, and I was like, oh, this is a cool song. And then as soon as I started playing it, people just really connected with it, and it's been one of those songs that, yeah, people.
When did you start doing that kind of crafty breakdown that's about that, what, 5 minutes into it?
Yeah, that was like right away. I just, people always ask me like, oh, how did you think of doing that? But for me, it was like not, it just kind of made sense. It wasn't one of those things where I was thinking like, oh, this is going to be a thing that people are like, wow, how did you think of doing that? I was just like, I was on a hike one day and I had these lyrics and it fit that rhythm, and I thought, oh, it'd be cool if I thought of it kind of like as a downbeat, and then like I play a lot of keyboards too. So in reggae music you have what they call the bubble, which is so I thought of that and doing that vocally, because I'm not, I'm playing guitar when I do this, and so I thought, oh, it'd be cool if I could do that vocally, because the lyrics are kind of in that rhythm. So I broke it all down, and I kind of like walked around for, I'd be like walking my dogs or driving in my car, and I just was memorizing, because it's like memorizing a different language.
Yeah.
When you break down the syllables and it just makes no sense.
I actually found a chart after I listened to the video. Somebody broke down a chart of like how you do that and how you go through each syllable and each letter and each part of the word. It's really kind of interesting. So yeah. So I did that, and then I just went to a gig one night and tried it, and it was like as soon as I got done with it, the whole crowd just erupted, and I was like, oh, I guess I didn't really know, like, is this thing even gonna work? Are people even gonna understand it? Is it gonna be weird? And I did it, and it worked. I'd say the answer to all those questions is yes, but either way, it took off and it kicked ass. And speaking of performing, you habitually do over 200 shows a year. Yeah. You are a performing machine. Where do you get the energy to keep moving forward and keep doing all these new things?
Well, it's really, it honestly doesn't take that much energy, because what we do is like it's healing. I equate it to any other kind of healing. Like if you think about, person that does healing with their hands, and they do a lot of massage, and you think like, how do they do hours and hours of working with their hands? But it's like you tap into an energy from the universe that's not coming from yourself, and you use that to heal. So actually we end up more energized after our shows. We cycle through so much energy, but we're getting so much energy from the people, as well as drawing that healing energy from the universe, that we don't, after we're done, we're not like, oh, we're exhausted. We're like, yeah, let's go and like talk to everybody at the show and spend 2 hours like talking to everybody, and then we break down our gear and drive to the next show, and it really keeps us going. And like, we're all of us in the band, almost all of us are fathers, so when we come out on the road, we leave our families behind, and it's like, it's tough. So we want to feel like we're making the most impact we can while we're out here. So a lot of times we do like, this run, we're doing 12 nights in a row, and then we just, flew overnight last night, and we start tonight, and we do 12 nights in a row, and then we fly home early the next morning. Wow. And it's like, we try and just pack it in and get as much in as we can, but we don't get tired, we get so energized.
And you're constantly writing the whole time too. You're coming up with new songs and new ideas that you're always adding down, right?
Yeah, I think it's important, because, you can play the same songs, and after a couple of years, if you come through the same place, and then people are just noticing, oh, this is kind of the same set they did last time. And I've seen a bunch of bands like that. And the first time it's like, yes. And then the second time it's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. And then the third time you're like, oh, this is like exactly the same. And then, the next time it's like, nah, I'm not going to go. Yeah. So I think that's important. It's important to let the songs grow and breathe and change live, so that you know, when people do hear them the second time around, that they're totally different. And
So a Mike Love show that you see this year is not going to be the same as the one you see later this year or next year.
right, because we're always adding songs and doing different songs and trying to, you know, cycle songs in and out, and just always trying to do a little bit different show every time we do a tour. So.
You're technically savvy too, because a lot of your songs have interesting time rhythms and a lot of stops and a lot of legato and a lot of slowing down. Like you do a lot. Are you classically trained, not just as a pianist, but like have you gone through a lot of training in terms of music theory and whatnot?
Well, I think you know, the thing about music theory is that it's a completely natural thing, and it's just that there, you know, there's these kind of, I think, natural sort of rules and just a natural way things work in music, and I sort of just figured out a lot of that stuff naturally, and then I did take piano lessons, you know, and I've just been blessed to be, you know, to know a lot of really great musicians and to be able to glean a lot of knowledge from just being around really great musicians.
Well, you've absorbed a lot of talents and a lot of skills, and I can tell a lot of it's going to be on display tonight. Definitely looking forward to hearing you perform all of your good songs, and especially Permanent Holiday. I want to hear that because that looks like so much fun to see live.
Yeah, man, it'll be great.
Well, thanks again for sitting down with us here at Backstage 360 right here with Mike Love.